A new shakeup is disrupting international affairs. We now have a peace plan for Gaza accepted by Israel and by the majority of Arab countries. But what does it involve? Can it really work? Will it finally bring this war to an end once and for all? Today, we want you to really understand what could happen and what exactly is at stake with this peace plan. Up next, we'll tell you not only what the plan is about, but also the details that are known yet not openly discussed, the ones that could blow the whole thing up. So if you want to truly understand this story, pay close attention to everything we're about to explain. Music, make no mistake. This is the most significant attempt so far to end the war in Gaza. On October 29th, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, nicknamed Bibi in Israel, accepted a 22-point plan aimed at ending, once and for all, the war in the Palestinian territory. This came just days after one of the conflict's starkest chapters, the ground invasion of Gaza City, the Strip's largest city, a centuries-old urban center with around 600,000 residents when the fighting began. Now, Trump has managed to convince Netanyahu to give diplomacy one last chance. I say last because the Israeli Prime Minister has been very clear. Israel will finish the job in Gaza, one way or another. Either peacefully if Hamas complies with this agreement or by force, something that will achieve all our war objectives without further bloodshed. But if Hamas rejects your plan, Mr. President, or pretends to accept it while sabotaging it, then Israel will finish the job by itself. So, in one way or another, there's no turning back. The plan we're about to break down for you in detail is set to determine, without a doubt, the future of this war in Gaza and Palestine, perhaps even in the broader Middle East. Friends, Trump has been pushing for a ceasefire for months. The U.S. president has made it clear he won't tolerate further annexations of Palestinian land by Israel. He's been negotiating intensely with Hamas and with Arab states. We also know that Netanyahu has repeatedly tried to derail those talks with sudden ground invasions. Operations against hospitals accused of sheltering Hamas fighters, and even missile strikes directly on targets in Doha. In fact, Trump demanded that Bibi apologize to Qatar for that attack. Netanyahu did just that. He apologized for violating Qatari sovereignty and pledged that Israel would not carry out such an attack again. After countless failed attempts, just as the situation in Gaza seemed completely out of control, this plan surfaced. Of course, it wasn't born overnight. It has been taking shape since at least August, drawing heavily from a blueprint that former British Prime Minister Tony Blair has been quietly promoting for months. The plan calls for the total disarmament of Hamas, as well as the end of its political influence in Gaza, at least in terms of governing the territory. So far, Israel has agreed, though we'll see how much they truly trust it, but they're not the only ones. The Palestinian Authority itself, along with countries such as the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Turkey, have also given it their blessing. In other words, nearly all the key Muslim-majority states appear to be lining up behind this plan to wrap up the Gaza issue as quickly as possible. But this plan highlights a harsh reality. There are only two real options for Gaza: an Israeli occupation or an international occupation. There's no room left for talk of a Palestinian state, self-government, or anything of that sort. That's simply not going to happen. That's why this plan proposes the second option, establishing a temporary civilian authority in Gaza under international control and authority, in which neither Hamas nor the Palestinian Authority will have a seat. In exchange, the war would end and Israel would withdraw its troops. So, the big question, are we looking at lasting peace? Could this agreement mark the greatest breakthrough in the quest for peace in Palestine in decades? Well, friends, this time we're not going to answer that question for you. I'd rather you decide for yourselves. How? By understanding exactly what's happening so you can draw your own conclusions and decide whether this is a real chance for peace or just another Middle Eastern mirage.